Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to do the GWV Sunday Round-Up for today's second video. This is going to be your usual eclectic mix of this and that for your Sunday afternoon viewing pleasure. We're going to be looking at things like solar activity, sea surface temperature anomalies, the NAO, the AO, and we'll have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days as well. So sit back and enjoy it. The first video today was the first batch of summer analogues. So the summer updates have started at GWV. This video is currently on the homepage, and later on today it will be placed on the summer updates and forecast page with a written summary, just going over everything that we discussed in the video, so you'll be able to watch the video on demand at GWV whenever you want, and also have a read of that written summary probably around 8 o'clock this evening, something like that. And also coming up later on this afternoon, we're going to have the verification for the winter 2018-19 forecast, so you'll be able to see how the forecast did, and also what happened through the winter. That'll be coming up sometime this afternoon, and I've already recorded that. It's quite an interesting watch, even to say so myself. But we're going with the Sunday Roundup, and we're going to begin by having a look at the radar picture, because it's been a very lively old morning. So we expected quite a bit of snow in the north, and it has arrived. We've got this area of heavy precipitation stretched out from Scotland down through Northern Ireland and into Northern England, also into the North Midlands. If we overlay the precipitation type, you see there is snow in there, so quite a bit of snow across Scotland. Also some snow coming down into Northern England, and not just at elevation, there has been snow down to lower levels as well. So pretty much in the areas that we expected, really from North Wales and the North Midlands northwards. So I think snow watch that we did last night came off quite well. Not only snow today and heavy rain, but also really strong winds. We had gusts of wind up to 60 miles an hour plus down across the southwestern part of the country. So that's brought a little bit of disruption down there as well. Nice little area of low pressure, and unnamed by the UK Met. I think a lot of places have probably had more severe weather today compared to the last named storm that we had. So I'm not sure how this storm naming and low pressure naming thing works really, and I would have thought that today's weather is disruptive enough to have had the area of low pressure named, but it's been kept unnamed. But nevertheless, it still brought quite a bit of nasty and disruptive weather. The worst will be over through the course of this afternoon. Winds should ease down, and a lot of this rain and snow going to be pushing away into the North Sea. But we will still have wintry showers, and then the next batch of stormy weather is on the way for tomorrow night and into Tuesday. More on that tomorrow, I suspect. So this is how the solar disk is looking on our side of this today from solarham.net. We've got very low levels of solar activity, but we have got one sunspot showing up just there. Nevertheless, we've got low levels of solar activity, and we're expecting to keep low levels of solar activity for the next 3 days. The GWV Sunday Roundup solar activity tracker is back. Our good friend James Ackroyd sent this through to us yesterday. So we're at a really low level of solar activity now. I keep saying this every week, but look how the trend lines have dipped away right at the end. So the thick green and the thick red lines, these are our trend lines for solar activity. The orange line depicting each individual day's sunspot numbers and solar activity. So you can see that we had quite a long run of spotless condition really with the sun through much of February. In fact, did have a full calendar month worth of no sunspots through February. Where we are right now is just here. So I had a little tick up in sunspot numbers, and that's just lifted those thick green, thick red trend lines up a little bit. But nevertheless, they're basically down on the floor of the chart now. So they're kind of like at a sort of level that we had just there back last summer. Excuse me, when we had a very, very low level of solar activity. We're in solar minimum, and we're going to be staying in solar minimum for the next few months, probably the next 6 to 12 months We won't know when we have reached true solar minimum and started the next solar cycle, number 25, until it happens. But I would expect we've got another year or so to go of very, very low levels of solar activity, and the solar activity tracker is just telling us and showing us how low sunspot numbers and solar activity is right now. Big thanks to James for updating that, and you'll be seeing that again in further Sunday roundups. Next thing we're going to have a look at is ENSO. So we've got our latest ENSO number in for the last tri-monthly period. This is the cold and warm episodes by season chart from NOAA and CPC. So if we go down here, we can see the year of 2019 just there. So this is showing each ENSO event through tri-monthly periods. So where we've got these red numbers here, that's where we've got El Nino events. For example, in 2015, 2016, we had El Nino conditions indicated by those positive red numbers. Where we've got the blue numbers, that's where we've got cold events. That's where we've got La Niñas going on. So we begin 2018 with a La Nina. So going back to 2017, 2018, had these blue numbers showing up. That was a weak La Nina occurring during that winter. Then through the middle of 2018, we go into ENSO neutral conditions. That's where we've got those black numbers. And from the tri-monthly period from September, October, November onwards, we've gone positive into positive ENSO conditions. So that number just there is 0.7. That reaches required El Nino threshold. The reason the numbers here, that one, and the latest one for the first tri-monthly period of 2019, which is December, January, February, coming out at plus 0.8. The reason those numbers haven't gone red yet is that we require one more positive number for this next tri-monthly period, January, February, March, this one just here. If we get a positive number there of 0.5 degrees, half a degree or more above average, then we will see those numbers going red, and that will tell us we have an official weak El Nino through the winter of 2018-19. So you have to reach really quite strict criteria to get El Nino or La Nina designated. In the case of El Nino, you have to be half degree or more above average and over 5 tri-monthly periods. So we have been over half a degree or more above average through 4 tri-monthly periods. Now with that one, of course, being the latest one. We've got one more to go. I think we'll do it. I think we'll be half degree or more above average in this box when it gets filled in, and at that point you'll see the numbers going red, and that will show that we have had an official El Nino event through this winter. These are how the sea surface temperature anomalies were looking this time last week. We did last week's Sunday Round-Up, so we've got our 3 areas of interest. We've got the ENSO region just here from Peru to Indonesia through the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. We've got the Northern Pacific up here. We've got Northern Atlantic over there. That's how things were looking last week. This is how things are looking this week. Let's deal with ENSO region first of all. So very little change through the ENSO region. We have powered up the El Nino signature through February, which is quite unusual. We've talked about this in the videos over the past couple of weeks. Quite unusual to power up the El Nino signal in February, because normally February is a weakening month. It's a month where ENSO events, be they El Nino or La Nina, will tend to weaken after reaching their peak at Christmas. So quite unusual what's happened there. I think very little change over the past week. We haven't really seen any more powering up of the El Nino signature, but we haven't seen a weakening either. So we've still got this El Nino signature, particularly over in the eastern part of the Equatorial Pacific just there. Going further north, again, very little change in the northern Pacific Ocean. Going back to last week, that's how it's looking last week, that's how we're looking this week. It's gradually turning a bit colder, though, in this northeastern corner of the northern Pacific. So very gradually, things look as though they're turning colder up there. We've had a lot of years, a lot of warm sea surface temperature anomalies up in that area over the past few years. But maybe this is going to be a rather colder year up there in the northeastern, up there in northeastern Pacific. if it does turn quite cold up there, it will be something that kind of like goes against an El Nino, really. That's more what you'd expect to see if you're having a La Nina. So that's quite unusual as well, the fact that we're cooling down in the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean, but in the equatorial Pacific Ocean, we're powering up the El Nino signature. Quite unusual what's happening there. And then finally, over in the Atlantic Ocean, so again, go back to last week, that situation last week, this is situation this week. Very little change, really. I think very stable in the Atlantic Ocean, in the North Atlantic Ocean. This area here is a little bit on the warmer than average side. This area up here is a little bit on the cooler than average side, as it seems to be quite regularly these days. But again, very little change. And we don't yet have any signs of last year's unusual sea surface temperature anomalies, where we had that horseshoe shape of cold from Greenland down into the tropical Atlantic. And that was one of the things last summer that probably paved the way for us to have really quite a hot summer. It was a very similar sea surface temperature anomaly that we had in the North Atlantic last summer to what we had in the summer of 1976. There were striking similarities, and the pattern was quite similar as well. The overall mean sea level pressure pattern was quite similar as well, although last summer did deteriorate a bit in August, which we didn't get in 1976. Anyway, there's no sign of that at the moment for as we start to think about this summer. Of course, that pattern could evolve again as we get close to the summer, but at the moment, not much sign of it. This is what the SOI is doing, the Southern Oscillation Index. This is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state in the Southern Ocean. It's representing the air pressure between Darwin and Tahiti down in the Southern Ocean. When you're in a negative SOI state, the atmosphere in the Southern Ocean will be reflecting El Nino. So the reason we powered up the El Nino signal through February is that we had a crash in the SOI. Look how we start with the SOI on this graph at in the early part of February, just there. The SOI was quite close to sort of neutral, but by the time you get through to the end of February into the beginning of March, just there, obviously a real crash has taken place in the SOI. It's gone down to around minus 13, minus 14. That tells us that the atmospheric state through February went into a very strong El Nino type setup, and it probably was one of the reasons we had such a warm February here in Europe as well, and in the UK. When you go into a strong El Nino state, although this hasn't been a strong El Nino in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies, but the atmosphere, for some reason during February, did go into a strong El Nino state. When the atmosphere is in a strong El Nino state, we tend to get unusual warmth over in Europe, and it happens quite regularly. It happened in 2015, for example, when we had that remarkably warm December, and also back in 1998 when we had an exceptionally warm February again. So I think the connection there between the warm February for much of Europe and also the crash in the SOI is quite interesting. But the crash in the SOI is one of the reasons that the El Nino signal through the equatorial Pacific Ocean powered up, because you kind of had a coupling of the atmosphere and the ocean through February that allowed those warm sea surface temperature anomalies across the equatorial Pacific Ocean to increase. So, for example, on the 19th of February, we went down to minus 43.61 with the Southern Oscillation. Went very, very negative indeed. That's a really strong El Nino type atmospheric setup. Now through March, the SOI has come back closer to normal, really. So that's the 1st of March just there, when it was actually at plus 4.79. So that's the atmosphere almost reflecting a weak La Nina state. Very quickly we went back negative, but not very negative. So the 2nd of March comes out at minus 3, for example. 6th of March comes out at minus 8. 9th of March comes out at minus 6. So these are negative numbers, and they are reflective of a weak El Nino type setup, but not those really negative numbers that we had back in February. However, the last number that we've got from the Bureau of Meteorology is for the 10th of March, and that comes out at minus 12.02. So it is starting to drop a little bit again, seemingly. So we'll see where we start getting those really negative numbers reappearing. Start going down to minus 20, minus 30, minus 40 with the SOI. Then we will see further increases in the sea surface temperature anomalies across the equatorial Pacific. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. CFSV2 is forecasting continued strengthening of El Nino. It's going to town with it at the moment. So got the temperature anomalies on the side and the dates are on the bottom. That's where we're starting off at, just with a very weak El Nino, barely above half a degree above average. But look how this black dash line, which is the ensemble mean, is taking off through the spring and into the summer. Quite unusual, because spring would normally be a period where we go back to ENSO neutral. So strengthening of El Nino through the spring into the summer. By the time we get through to the middle of the summer, can you believe, we're up to 2 degrees above average. So that's going into a strong El Nino for this summer. Not quite reaching Super Nino threshold. To do that, you'd have to go above 2 degrees above average, somewhere between 2 and 3 degrees above average. So it's not a Super Nino, but it is going for a strong El Nino to be in place by July. So a rapid strengthening of the sea surface temperature anomalies being forecast there by CFSV2. I think that's a bit over the top, I must say. I suspect the model has seen the crash in the SOI that it had in February, and it's kind of like going over the top with the impacts of it. So we'll just keep a close eye on it. But to be going from where we are right now, which is barely half a degree above average, to 2 degrees above average in like 3 or 4 months would be a very dramatic warming of the equatorial Pacific Ocean indeed. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. This is how Eurasian snow cover is looking now. So, of course, we are beginning to pull back the snow cover into Russia. Most of Russia, or all of Russia, is still covered, really. The snow line is kind of like on the border of Europe and Russia. Now, most parts of Scandinavia are still snow covered, away from the far south of Scandinavia, anyway, where we've lost a bit of the snow cover there. Many parts of Europe are now snow-free, except over the mountainous and alpine regions. So very gradually the snow is beginning to pull back into Russia and Asia, and we're beginning to move into the European spring, of course, which will see snow cover rapidly diminishing. However, I suspect tomorrow, if you have a look at these charts tomorrow, we will probably find a little bit of snow cover turning up over the UK, because as I say, it has been, particularly in the northern parts of the country, quite a snowy old morning. So even though we're into spring, it doesn't mean that we can't get snow in the UK and in other parts of Europe as well. Arctic oscillation is looking like this in terms of the Arctic oscillation observed and forecast chart. So the black line here tells us where we've been with the Arctic oscillation. The red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic oscillation to go. We're in a prolonged period of a positive AO phase at the moment. That's where we currently are. So you can see back through the earlier part of the winter, most of the winter, actually up to the beginning of February, we had a negative Arctic oscillation. But through February, we went positive with the AO, and we're still positive right now. Remember, it's just an index that's reflecting the state of the atmosphere. It's not driving anything. Just telling you what the atmosphere is doing. When the AO is positive, you have low pressure up over the North Pole, and you'll strengthen the zone of westerlies. When the AO is negative, you'll have high pressure and blocking up over the North Pole. So obviously we don't have much blocking over the pole at the moment. The GFS ensembles are keeping the AO in positive territory really right through to the end, or through to the latter stages of March, reducing the positivity. So that's where we are now, as I say. And the GFS ensembles are sort of going down to that level. So, still very much on the positive side, but a little bit less positive, if you like, compared to where we are right now. Nevertheless, it looks like March is going to be pretty much a positive Arctic oscillation month, which tells us that we are strengthening the zone of westerlies. So it's one of the reasons we're having such an unsettled month. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be wet, of course. Just because you've got a positive AO and you're strengthening westerlies, you can also strengthen the Azores high, such as we did in February. If you do that, you'll have a lot of dry and quite warm weather as well. This is how the NAO looks. Now, the NAO has just been positive really since the start of the winter. So our last negative NAO period was back in October and November, almost on the turn of November to December. The NAO went positive, and it's pretty much stayed there throughout. There's been the odd day, particularly around the New Year, when the NAO went negative. But generally, we've been in a really, really prolonged positive phase of the North Atlantic oscillation. We're still positive right now. That's where we are right now, and we are forecasting, or GFS ensembles are forecasting the NAO to stay positive right way through to the end of March. So there's no sign of the NAO coming out of this positive phase that it's been in since the beginning of December. It's been a really, really long run of a positive NAO, and it goes on to the final stages of March by looking at it. Eventually this will shift, and we better hope that it doesn't shift in the summer, because if we start going into a negative NAO phase for the summer, then that will be something that might raise alarm bells, especially if the AO is going negative too, because that would be a signal potentially for quite a cool wet pattern with blocking appearing over the North Pole and over Greenland, low pressure as a trough underneath it, and that isn't really what we want in summer, unless you like your summers cool and wet, which of course quite a few people do. Actually, a lot of people don't like hot summers, so we'll keep an eye on that anyway. But for the time being, we have both the AO and the NAO in very positive territory. This is telling us that the westerlies are going to continue to be strengthened. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. So we're looking at leak in the North Midlands today. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for leak. It's another suggested location, by the way, on our list of suggested locations, this section of video. And thanks to all of you for submitting your locations. I'll put them onto the list, so we have got a few more to go at over the next few days. So that's where we are right now with the upper air temperatures in leak. We're cold at the moment, and going to stay generally quite cold really through to the middle of the month. Anyway, dates are on the bottom the chart just here. There's a couple of days where we do get slightly warmer upper air temperatures coming along, some warmer sectors, but overall looks like we're keeping the temperatures pretty cool really, at times quite cold, going into the second half of March. Now, as we go through to the final sort of week to 10 days of month, this is causing all sorts of headaches at the moment, this period. It's a period where we think we're going to build up high pressure and turn things warmer and drier, but it keeps being very inconclusive, and this chart is inconclusive as well, really. So, yes, the trend, I think, through the final week or so of March is to bring in warmer temperatures. But you see there's a lot of scatter in there. It's not convincing at all, really. We have got these warmer upper air temperatures up here, but then we can't discount these cooler ones down here. As it's extended range stuff, you expect quite a bit of scatter, but you certainly wouldn't want to be guaranteeing a particularly warmer and drier period. And I mean, look at precipitation. So for the next week to 10 days, lots of rainfall spikes coming through, will remain unsettled. We do get something of a drying trend appearing through the final week to 10 days of March, but again there is quite a few precipitation spikes still there, so certainly it remains the case that we are trending overall towards a warmer and drier final week to March, but it still is not guaranteed. We've still got to see how this develops, I think. Temperature anomalies for the next week, going from the 10th to the 18th of March, coming out a little bit cooler than average for the UK, for Ireland, and for much of Northern Europe as well. Precipitation anomalies from the 10th to the 18th of March, above average, so cool and wet really in the week ahead. In America, it's quite a cool scene away from the eastern side, where it's a little bit milder than average over there, but most of these midwestern and western states are looking quite cold in the week ahead. Precipitation anomalies looks fairly dry in the northwestern corner and also in the southeastern corner of the states. In between, particularly through the Midwest, it looks very wet. This is how the midnight GFS run was looking for Wednesday. So Tuesday to Wednesday, going to be quite stormy. Deep area of low pressure off the east coast of Scotland, bringing gales or severe gales to many parts of the country, and also quite a bit of heavy rain as well. Thursday, we start to draw up some milder air from the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, but by the time you go through to Friday, that's being pushed away again as a cold front swings southeast, which brings outbreaks of rain and introduce colder air from the north. Into next weekend, we gradually start to pull down colder air from the north, so it may be quite unsettled and fairly cold next weekend. That lasts into the following week. So this is Monday the 18th of March, where we're in a northerly wind, snow showers in the north and the east. Then high pressure starts to ridge in from the southwest, probably quite cold under that high initially, but eventually we start to pull up some milder air from the southwest. Still quite unsettled for the north, you'll notice, still close to low pressure for Scotland, so more rain up there, but wrinkled away as it is turning warmer and drier on this GFS run. And the trend as we go through towards the end of the GFS run is actually to strengthen the high pressure to our south. So particularly for England and Wales, we do go into a proper spell of spring. That's as far as we can go. Tuesday the 29th of March with high pressure over to the south of the UK, looking pretty warm and dry, a little bit more unsettled up to the north. This is the parallel GFS run. So this one looking very, very unsettled on Wednesday. Gales and heavy rain lashing the country. It's a milder day, but still quite unsettled from Thursday through to Friday. Then we start to pull down those colder winds from the north again next weekend. That could bring snow showers back to northern parts of the country. Looking pretty cold as we go into the early part of the following week. This is Monday, 18th of March. We're still in a cold north to northeast wind. More snow showers likely in the north and the east. Then the high pressure begins to ridge, or it tries to ridge from the southwest. Brings a couple of drier days to the south, but still low pressure is out to the north, to the west of the country, and the parallel GFS run is keeping things unsettled right the way into its extended range. Look at this, low pressure just keeps driving in from off the Atlantic. We never really build up that high pressure to our south, so the parallel GFS is maintaining unsettled and pretty cool weather really right way through towards the end of the month. That's to Tuesday, 26th of March. So as I say, this idea of building high pressure up from the southwest, been there for a long time. It's what we're expecting to happen for the final week to 10 days of March, but there is still a lot of uncertainty about it. The GFS 6 o'clock run has been updating as we've been doing the videos, so this is how things are looking with the GFS 6 o'clock run on Wednesday. Cold and windy, maybe even a bit stormy. We go through to Thursday, it's a milder day on Thursday, but still unsettled. Then through to Friday and the weekend, here come those northerly winds, bring colder air back from the north over the weekend. Through to the following week, is Monday, 18th of March, looking cold with those northerly winds. Moving up to day 10, that's how we look. So again, the high pressure is trying to strengthen to our south, definitely turning milder across the country at day 10. It's a bit drier down in the south, still looks quite unsettled up in the north. Let's see what the extended 6 o'clock GFS run did. So again, high pressure is strengthening to our south with this one. That's bringing warmer and drier conditions to England and Wales. Still looking a little bit on the unsettled side though for Scotland. Let's go further on. And we move to Friday 22nd of March, and low pressure coming back in off the Atlantic then. So only a very brief period of higher pressure to our south before we begin to look quite unsettled. Get to Sunday the 24th of March, we've got the high pressure just out to west of Ireland. This is, again, it's trying to settle things down. Looks quite cool though. We're bringing fairly cool air around the top of that high pressure from the north. Let's see how we finished up. And we did finish up with 6 o'clock GFS run under a proper area of high pressure. That's more likely. That's what we're expecting to happen. That brings back spring by the time we get through to Tuesday, 26th of March. Of course, that's right at the very end of the GFS run, so it's in the unreliable time frame, 384 hours away. But that is the kind of thing that we are looking for, that we're expecting to happen as we get through into the final week of March with a resumption of spring then. ECM has low pressure to our north on Wednesday, cold, windy and showery into next week, or the end of next week and into next weekend, maintaining unsettled conditions, starting to turn wind into the north as well. A little bit less of a northerly with the ECM compared to the GFS, but they both look pretty cold and unsettled for next weekend. And going up to day 10, keeping things really quite flat, so staying unsettled up to day 10. This is Wednesday, 20th of March. Not much sign of building in high pressure, although the ridge is strengthening. It's up to 1,030 millibars to the west of Portugal. So the Azores high is strengthening, we'll probably have a go to ridging if we could go on beyond day 10 with the ECM operation run, which we can't, but we can with the ECM ensembles. These are the scenarios that are on the table with the ECM ensembles today via the postage stamps from the Icelandic Met Office. These are the options at day 10, which is the 20th of March. So we've got 39 members of the ECM ensembles, including the ECM control run, that do have us under a ridge at day 10. So we've got a ridge of high pressure there from the southwest, from the Azores, building into the UK, but a low pressure is being pushed off out to the northwest with the jet stream going up there. So those 39, and it's a large cluster of the ECM ensembles actually, they are bringing a return to warmer or milder and dry conditions by day 10. Then we've got 12, including the operational ECM run, the run we're just looking at, that are still cool and unsettled at day 10, with low pressure close to the country, and we don't have that ridge building up from the southwest. So what we can say, actually, is that this scenario that we finish up with the ECM run today at day 10 on the 20th of March, that is not particularly well supported by the ECM ensembles. I wouldn't necessarily say it's an outlier, because there are 12 of them, or another 11, I suppose, that are going with that scenario. But the much more likely scenario from the ECM ensembles, anyway, is for high pressure to be ridging up from the southwest, bring a return to more spring-like conditions by day 10. 2 weeks away, which is 360 hours, 25th of March, these are the options within the ECM ensembles. So there are 17 that look quite unsettled with low pressure out to the west. They're bringing in a westerly flow like that. There's 16 have low pressure out to the northwest, but they do have a weak ridge over the country, so they're trying to get towards high pressure. Then there's 10 with low pressure up to Greenland and Iceland, and quite a big ridge centred close to the UK, so they're a much warmer, drier option with the jet stream going up there. And then finally, there's 8 that have high pressure over and to the east of the country, centering the ridge towards Scandinavia. They're more easterly based, but again, they're a much drier option and probably reasonably, probably not overly cold, I should say. So they're a drier option. It does look as though the ECM ensembles are trending towards high pressure for the final week to 10 days of March, even if the ECM operation run isn't particularly. Finally, we'll just have a look at CFS-V2. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 10th to the 16th of March. The coming week is unsettled, low pressure, below average heights to the north and to the east, above average heights out in the middle of the Atlantic, sending the jet stream on a northwest-southeast alignment. So it's cool and unsettled, maybe cold at times in the week ahead. Week 2 is the 17th to 23rd of March. High pressure is sitting out west-southwest of us. That's turning milder and drier. Not overly warm. The winds are still coming from a northwesterly direction with that, I would have thought. But it's a little bit drier and a little bit milder as well, I suspect. However, it's week 3, but the real change takes place. This is the 24th of March to the 30th of March, with a big area of above average heights then centering almost over top of the country. Low pressures out to the northwest. Jet streams up there as well. So that is turning things a lot drier and also warmer. We'll be starting to pull up winds from a southwesterly direction. And then we go through to week 4, and that one also has us under high pressure. So we begin April. It's the 31st of March, the 6th of April. The ridge is right over top of the UK. That's starting April on a fine, dry and pretty warm note, you would have thought, with plenty of sunshine. April itself, with the CFS-V2, is still being forecast to be quite high pressure dominated. So this is the April 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS at the moment. It's going for high pressure, be very close to the UK and sitting to our east as well. That'll be drawing up pretty mild, if not warm air from the south. The temperature anomaly for April, finally, with CFS, is being forecast to be above average for the UK and for most parts of Europe too. Looks like a very nice April if the CFS V2 is correct. A proper spring-like April on the way. Of course, that's a big if, because it's an unreliable model at the best of times. It's prone chopping and changing. But if it's right, then we're in for quite a nice month during April. Right, so that's it for GWV Sunday Round-Up for today, and don't forget to check out the summer analogues if you haven't yet done so. We'll be back later on this afternoon with the verification for the winter 2018-19 forecast. It's an interesting watch. It's going over what happened through the winter, how the winter forecast did, and all of that kind of thing. So have a look at that later on this afternoon. The summer analogues update will be placed on the summer updates page this evening with a written summary. So have a read of that if you would like to. And that's all for now, though. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and thanks for watching.